Hi there, and welcome to the Kingdom Sexuality podcast. We're Paris and Alana, friends who have a heart for intimacy and long to uncover God's truth and design for sexual freedom within marriage. Welcome here. Okay, so this is something I have never done before, and I'm recording an episode completely by myself. So this is Alana here. Paris has got some family stuff going on, so I decided that I would just tackle this episode by myself. So bear with me. It's kind of weird just talking with nobody else with me, but I think it'll be fine. I'm excited, and it's kind of perfect timing because mine and Jeff's anniversary is coming up, so I thought this was a great time to tackle this. Plus, so Paris and I, if you haven't been following or listening along with us for a while, back in, I think it was December, we did an episode that was called Not Your Mama's Holiday Traditions. So I thought, why not do another one, but just more for anniversary traditions. So my hope going into this episode is just to really casually talk through some of the suggestions that you guys sent our way. Just for those of you who had sent messages saying like, please help, like I have no idea what we're going to do on our anniversary, don't know where to start, don't know what to do, just newly married, how can you help? So this episode is for you guys. So it's going to be super casual, but let's get going. I feel like a little bit convicted here because in the past, Jeff and I haven't really had any specific anniversary traditions. Normally we try to go out for a dinner or, I guess we've only had Theo with us for maybe 2 of our anniversaries. So really we haven't really done anything that ridiculously exciting. But we've always tried to make the day special in some way. So whether it's just like, I don't know, looking back at photos or going out for dinner, which is commonly what we'll do, or, getting a bottle of champagne, something fun like that. But I wanted to go into some of the suggestions that you guys had left on our Instagram account because you guys gave so many great ideas. So I categorized them into 3 different categories. So there is relive, retreat, and reflect. I really like how I came up with all ours. It sounded really nice together. Okay, so let's start with relive. So basically, a bunch of you, like I already mentioned, just kind of relive the wedding day. So whether it's, trying on your wedding dress, watching your wedding videos, looking at photos of the day. So many of you, wear the perfume that you wore on your wedding day or the lingerie you wore, which is something I used to always do actually as well. I never wore like the bra and panties that I wore on our wedding day, except for on our anniversary. But they were lacy, and lacy things just kind of wear out. So I don't really do that anymore. But, lots of you reread your vows or maybe like letters that you had written to each other on the wedding day, which I thought was such a great idea. So that's just like reliving the day, which is a really practical, it's really easy to do looking back, whether it's just even in your home after the kids go down, or whether you're like doing this as you're going out for dinner or you're, on a trip together. So I feel like it's nice. It's a simple thing you can do wherever you're at with life. Because so many times I think we put this big expectation on anniversaries and, what are you guys doing? Or what are you going to do? What did you do? And it can put pressure on it and make it maybe more of an ordeal than it needs to be. Because really all you're doing is just celebrating your love and looking back at the past year and, all the years you've had as a married couple and celebrating it. So whatever that looks like, wherever stage you're at, I feel like this is a great way to reflect and relive the day. So number 2 was retreat. So this is you get out. So whether it's so many of you go back to the location of your first date, which I thought was super cute. And it's funny, I don't know if I'm the only one here, but Jeff and I don't know if we really necessarily had a first date, which is a funny thing, but because we were like met in high school. So we didn't necessarily go on like an official first date that I could recall. But I love that idea. Or, going out for dinner, like I already mentioned. Another thing you could do is like actually get your kids, like take them off to grandma's house or get a sitter, go away for the weekend, either like depending on your budget, whether you go like camping nearby or, even just take your kids and have them stay at grandma's so you guys can stay at home. Like that sounds pretty nice too. Which is actually, I think, what we did last year. And that was really lovely. Or lots of you were suggesting like staying at a resort, like get out, fly somewhere away, like for a week or a weekend, which I would love to one day. Like, you go on a cruise as a couple. Like that sounds fantastic. Another idea that one of you had shared was hanging out with like your bridal party friends. And I thought that was such a special idea. Just like actually inviting everyone over for a nice little like party hangout with everyone who was like in your wedding. I mean, granted that people are actually nearby, but whoever's nearby where you live. I was like, wow, that's actually a really fun idea. And then you could all like get together, play games, relive the day again, like looking at pictures or videos or whatever. And so many of you, which I love this idea, the photographer in me is so happy, was you guys take photos as a couple on your anniversary. Just like get someone to professionally take photos, or you like take the same photo that you took on your wedding day, things like that, which I think is such a great idea. And really, I don't know if I've actually mentioned it on the podcast or whether it was I mentioned it in an Instagram story, but I found personally, like when Jeff and I get photos done of each other, like together, just as a couple, it's such a really, really great way to just like slow down and reconnect, because I feel like you're standing there, you're looking at each other, you're snuggling, you're kissing, you're hugging, I feel like there's such like an intimate connection that can happen. Granted, maybe that depends on how comfortable you are with the photographer and stuff, but I feel like it can be a really, really great opportunity to, even if you're doing it like around your anniversary, but just to reconnect in a fun way where you're actually just like spending a bunch of quality time together, and then bonus, you get photos. So, and then the third category was reflect. So, which I think is a really important thing to do on your anniversary. I don't know if I personally do it enough, so it's nice that we're talking about this. But it's just reflect. So you're going over highs and lows of the year and looking back and thinking about, what has gone on. Have there been any big changes, job changes or moves or babies born, things like that in your family, and just talking about it as a couple and as your relationship and how was it affected by this, or, so just going over the highs and lows, reestablishing goals as a couple, which I think is huge. Just like actually talking about, okay, like what do we want to work on? How do we want to implement this? How can we make this actually practical and something we can attain, right? So make goals and reestablish them, chat about them where you're at. And then you can also just celebrate growth and just see how far you've come. Like maybe you're 10, 15 years into your marriage and you think you're about, you're like your first year of marriage and you're like, oh my goodness, we had no idea what we're doing. But like how exciting to like look back and just see all the growth that's already happened. And then you can also talk about areas that maybe you want to improve. It's like, okay, well maybe we, don't do enough date nights together. How can we change that? Like maybe we need to put a babysitter like in the budget. Maybe we need to, set aside specific money for, someone to watch the kids so we can actually get out, and just, shuffling priorities a bit. And this is also, we talk about it all the time, but a really great time to just reconnect and talk about how your sex life is even doing. So to just have that conversation. If that's something you don't really often discuss, which we talk about the importance of it, I feel like all the time. So I just am probably being a broken record, but if it's something you haven't done in a while, this is a great opportunity to be like, hey, how do you think we're doing? What do you think we can work on within our sex life? Are there things you want to try? Are there things that are, that I do that turn you on that are maybe different than what you used to, or, things that I do that aren't really working, just to have those conversations. And if you're not sure what to do, like where to go with questions and things like that, our highlight, I put a highlight together on our Instagram stories, on our Instagram profile, with connect questions. And so it could be as simple as going through some of those together as a couple and just having those conversations that often get missed in the busyness of life, because I get it. Life is busy, and there's kids, and there's work, and there's stressors that can just kind of bog us down. And so I feel like having an anniversary is a really great time to just pause, and you can put all of that aside, just even for a day, to focus on yourselves. It's nice to take the time to just relive the day, retreat, go out together, and then reflect on where you've been, where you've gone, and how far your love has traveled, because it's such a beautiful thing. But I also don't want to forget about maybe, I don't know, an obvious part of anniversaries, which is like the sex. So we had some nice recommendations where some couples, on their anniversary, they have, sex in the morning, and then they also have sex in the evening, things like that. So, I mean, thinking about it strictly in like the sexual side of things, something also you could do is, thinking along the lines of goals, but come up with a, sex bucket list, which I think I've talked about before, but, places you want to do it that you haven't done, or positions you want to try that you haven't tried yet, or things like that, where you just have those conversations and make it kind of lighthearted and fun. And okay, well, I want to try doing it outside one day, or do you want to, try this position on the couch one day, or let's go in the kitchen, or, somewhere different, and just make it lighthearted and fun. But to actually think about like the intimacy side of it as well, right? Where you're just learning each other's bodies, maybe in a new location or a new spot in your house that you just haven't really tried before, or things like that. So I didn't want to forget the actual aspect of sex on your anniversary as well, because we all know that that's probably part of it. So, but something that we have been trying, and we got as a, Paris and I were each received a deck of cards from Married Dance. So I'll have the link below, but it's basically the positions that I post on hump days. But it's your own deck of cards, so you don't have to be like, oh, 1 second, let me go check on Instagram to see what they had all posted in their hump day highlights, or let me go onto this website and try and look up a position. It's like you just have the cards with you. So I thought that was really fun. And it's like a fun way to just try something new, or even just laugh at like, oh my goodness, there's no way we could ever do that. But just keeps things lighthearted. So, and that's really a nice way to think about your anniversary too, right? It's like an opportunity. Well, hey, let's try something new today, or hey, let's bring in the whipped cream or the chocolate syrup and see what we can do with them. I feel like just to keep things lighthearted and fun is always one of the best options, because why not? So I hope this gives you some ideas if you're just really struggling to know what to do or where to go when it comes to your anniversary. I hope this could inspire some ideas within you and give you a bit of a framework of where you could go, what you could do, things you can reflect on the day. And if I missed something, please shoot me a message and be like, hey, Alana, you missed this. This would be a great one to share, or things like that. And we'll happily share them on our Instagram account or something. That would be great. But I also wanted to just go back to the heart of, what this is and what this podcast is about. And, we're here to talk about God's design for sex within marriage. And so at some point, I would really encourage you on your anniversary, at some point, get together and just pray over your marriage. Pray through maybe things you're struggling with, or celebrate things like praise items that you've gotten through, if there's something you guys have been struggling with, if it's been a hard year in your marriage, but just to thank God for all the blessings that He's given you. And just, if you need to just sit down and just have a little cry together, or, laugh, and you just, put it at the cross and give it over to Jesus and thank Him for what He's doing in your marriage. So I hope that that's one tradition that really sticks, is that every year on your anniversary, at some point during the day, you guys stop and take some time to pray and thank the Lord for what He's been doing in your marriage, and just declaring freedom over what's to come. And just have a time of prayer together, because it is so, so powerful. As we've already mentioned in many episodes, prayer as a couple is huge. So hopefully this episode was helpful for you, and happy anniversary.
Hey friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us as we dive deeper into meaningful, godly intimacy, tackle the hard questions, and embrace truth while we're at it. We're also on Instagram at Kingdom Sexuality. You'll find our Instagram handle below in the show notes, where you'll also see any other resource links we may have mentioned in today's episode. As always, our hearts are to cultivate deep community and freedom with you guys, and we cannot wait to continue this journey alongside you. We'll see you in the next episode.